two-day appeal for Adidja Palmer, we know him as Vybz Kartel, and his three co-accused, wrapped on Thursday, the 15th. The four plaintiffs are represented by a 9-member team, including Jamaican attorney at law, Bert Samuels, who is now with us to review the recently concluded hearing. So, King's Counsel, how are you doing this morning?
Morning, sir. I'm very good, but you've left my daughter off the team, Bianca Samuels.
Oh, my
she's
apologies
up there.
for that. Oh, is she there?
She was in court, yeah.
Oh, what did she say? Tell me what she said about
Well, she's part of the preparation. Well, she was very enthused about the jury point, which we had already argued before the Jamaican Court of Appeal. We were so sure that that point would have succeeded here.
And the jury point, let's contextualize for the folks who don't know, was the attempted bribery of one of the jurors.
That's correct.
In the face of that, the judge did what?
The judge said, okay, I'm just going to give them the normal warning not to be influenced by anyone, when he ought not to have done that. He ought to have removed the juror. But in 2015, the law was different. For murder, you had to have 12 jurors. You could have a minimum of 11, but you can't go below 11. So after 56 days of trial, the judge said, what am I going to do? Because I can't go below 11. But that's an expediency argument. It's not a justice argument. And justice is now coming to the surface. That's why we are so enthused.
What can happen here? Is it retrial or free, or there are
there are about
things?
5 matrix. You can have one. The court can say, oh, the evidence is so overwhelming. Even with another jury, they would have been found guilty, and we lose. They can say, oh, we find that, something went wrong, but the proviso is that, we can still have the conviction stand. And then we go to the third situation where, oh, yes, it went wrong, but we want to give the Jamaican Court of Appeal, we want to send it back to the Jamaican Court of Appeal to determine whether it will be a retrial or they will walk, they'll be free. So those are the...
You don't want a retrial, why?
I want the clients to be free. That's why they paid us to do the best and get justice for them.
But couldn't a retrial prove that they can be free after a retrial? I'm asking.
Yes, but the baby is out. We don't want to put the baby back in. Why should we? We want them to walk. They've been there for 13 years in custody. They're hoping that...
Wrongly so, you're arguing.
Yeah, because they were not given a fair trial. A lot of people don't understand what a fair trial. A person who is guilty is entitled to a fair trial. A person who is innocent is entitled to a fair trial.
So that's the point I wanted to make.
Yeah.
The sticking point for a lot of people is that they've already decided in their minds that he's guilty. You're arguing that guilt or innocence, everybody has a right to a fair trial. And based on what happened with this juror, and there's one other sticking point that you argue, which was the other. It was the bribery of the juror. It was the lateness of the
lateness, so the judge had 56 days of trial. It's a Thursday afternoon. It's 17 minutes to 4. He had the Friday when he could have put them to retire. He decided, we're going to have them retiring at 17 minutes to 4 to consider 56 days of trial. And therefore, they would have been pressured to return a verdict. Oh, I need to go home. Oh, I need to go and pick my daughter up from school. That's pressure.
It's anomalous? You don't typically find a judge calling a juror back at that time?
No, the judges do not give jurors the case to consider at 17 minutes to 4, because court ends at 4. So you're virtually giving them 17 minutes of normal time. So you're going to extra play. So what most judges do, once it gets past 3 o'clock, they will stop the case, go the next day for even 3, 4, 5 minutes, and give them the entire Friday to consider the verdict. That was not done, and why? Big question side. We have the answers, but I can't tell you on camera.
Peter Knox, the lawyer representing the Jamaican prosecutors, said, and I quote here, even if there were irregularities in the trial, they did not result in a serious miscarriage of justice. You don't buy that?
It's not an irregularity. He's seen it as an irregularity. Section 16 of the Jamaican Constitution, Knox does not operate in a country where there's a written constitution. In Jamaica, you have to have a trial by an impartial tribunal. And if a man is trying to bribe, that can't be a partial tribunal.
Yeah, I'm not certain you can answer, or you would want to answer this. Is a suggestion here that these gentlemen are not guilty, or are you saying that it was something never go right in the trial?
Well, for you to say someone is guilty or not guilty, you'd have the divine powers to be able to say that. We would say persons are tried on the evidence, and a jury impartial jury considers yes or no, guilty or not. So the question of the search for truth is what the trial process is about, but there is a procedure that must be followed. And all of us are entitled to that impartial tribunal.
You didn't answer, though.
Well, I said I have no divine powers, so maybe that's my answer, if he's guilty or not. For example, on the question of retrial, we're going to have a huge issue, because you know that the voice notes have been in the public space, and a jury ought not to come into a trial who have been colored by anything that they have heard outside the courtroom.
So that was a part of
pre-trial
the
publicity,
argument, right?
yes, pre-trial publicity, and the conversations that have been held, that may mean that the court may say they may not be able to get a fair trial because there's too much information out there. They can't get 12 people, now it's 7, who can sit and say, I'm impartial. It's going to be difficult to have a retrial in our view.
So you think,
Yeah.
you feel confidently that this is it, they're going to walk after this?
Well,
That's
that's
your
the
feeling?
feeling of hard work and feeling of that justice was not done, and therefore to put them on trial again would be so, they got to find new lawyers, new fees to pay their lawyers and stuff like that.
And what would the implications of this case then be for
Yeah.
the justice system? What are the key
it's a
takeaways
great
and
case for the
learnings?
justice system. It tells judges now, listen, you can't do that, you can't do that. It tells prosecutors coming, you can't encourage the judge to continue with a case. That's what happened. The DPP herself went into judges' chambers and encouraged them to continue with the case, although there was clear evidence that one of the members was seeking to bribe the others. And since then, that person has been convicted. He has been convicted. That's how alarming it is.
Did the DPP do something wrong?
In law, yes, in my humble opinion. You can't encourage a judge as an arm of the state. She's an arm of the state. She must be also concerned with fair trials for Jamaican citizens. And if there is someone on the jury who has been trying to bribe others and you encourage the judge to continue with the case, and it can't fall below 10. In fact, the Privy Council judge said that was a trial by 10, and that's not allowed.
Yeah.
A
The
simple
judge
answer.
actually said that.
She actually heard her
Is the
saying that.
judge in this case
Yes,
that you're
the female Privy Council
No,
judge.
the judge that you're suggesting that the DPP encouraged, does that mean the judge is a weak judge or
Well,
what?
you know, sometimes people can encourage you to do something which, if you were thinking carefully, you wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Am I being too diplomatic?
Maybe.
No, I think I
Maybe.
feel you're very clear.
But you're suggesting that the DPP and the judge did something wrong.
Yes, that's the result. That happens from time to time. The judge, you know, you can win your case based on the misconduct of the prosecution. That alone can cause you to win your case. And therefore, we had filed that ground in Jamaican Court of Appeal, but they didn't find favor with it.
Forgive my ignorance. If the judge says free, what happened? You just get up immediately, or is there a
What
process?
happens
that-
after this?
You mean
There's a
if
next
the
step.
Yeah.
Jamaican Court of Appeal or the Privy Council
Yeah.
say they are freed,
Yeah.
they must come out immediately.
Immediately.
And if they remain there for 2-3 hours too long, then they can sue. And that's another thing.
Really?
Yes, there are persons who have been freed by the Jamaican Court of Appeal, and they took 3-4 days to release them, and they file a suit and got millions.
So immediately means what?
Immediately, once the announcement is made that they are freed, then a paper must be transmitted to the general penitentiary, to wherever they're being kept, and they must be released.
So if them here at 10 o'clock in the morning, they are out by 10:30.
Yes, you know, pack your stuff and go, because after that it becomes false imprisonment, which is a civil wrong.
And an added question to that.
Yeah.
If the Privy Council says, all right, something was wrong, do they now have a case to sue the
Oh, yes, and they can sue the state for malicious prosecution. They can.
and for imprisonment, wrongful imprisonment? Right?
Well,
I don't
the
know if that's
wrongful
what you said.
imprisonment is a little difficult because it must take place 6 years after. But the wrongful imprisonment will be the 13 years in custody. Huge amount of monies. Huge amount of
So
money.
after this, if it turns out the way that you said, it's done and dusted, nobody can go back in and appeal anything or bring another this outside of your clients.
Okay, you mean if they win, if someone can appeal?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, they
The-
can't
the
appeal from the
DPP
Privy
can't-
Council's
the
decision
DPP
because
can't.
there's no other place to go. Okay, you can't wrong the
Can't be.
Privy Council.
Why are we still going to England?
Because we have mental slavery, we should go to Jamaican, to the Caribbean Court of Justice. That's where we
TVJ.
belong. Didn't it hurt you to see us up there before people that don't look like us?
I was wondering
deciding
why
the
we
cases
couldn't
and
do it.
arguing the cases.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I'm not for that. But you may ask me, why did I go there? Because I don't have a choice.
Yeah. Who's the
why
better lawyer?
Pardon?
Who's the better lawyer, you or Bianca?
She's much brighter than I am.
No diplomacy there, right? You can just read
Much
that out, right?
brighter.
Boy, let me tell you, this is a fascinating case
Yes.
study in law. I mean, for years to come, this
Yes,
one will
it's going
be.
to be, and it's very helpful to
Landmark.
guide other cases. Would you like to be on trial and someone is trying to bribe the jury? And hear what happened. One of the lawyers told the trial judge, listen, what could happen is that because the other jurors are saying he's trying to bribe me, I'm going to give a verdict to show that I can't be bribed, rather than a verdict, which is the true verdict.
Yep. Final question from me. Why did this take so long? 13 years him in jail. Why it take so long for all of this?
Everything goes slowly in Jamaica. The justice system is crawling.
So when did you file the appeal?
Which of them?
This one that we
This one was filed within 14 days of us losing in the Jamaican Court of Appeal. 14
Which was
days.
when?
And then it took all this time. There are 9,000 pages on the record
Wow.
for this appeal. 9,000 pages.
Wow.
We've had to read that. I can barely see you now.
In addition to the other 1 million trillion you've read over the course of your career.
Oh, yes.
So when do we hear?
Gray hairs.
When do we hear?
No, when do we hear? And I know the public wants to hear this. The normal court in the Privy Council will take 2 to 3 months. This is not normal. The size of this case is 5 times the normal case.
Wow.
I'm thinking summer or late summer.
But where did I read that? Let me say
3 months.
No, me was talking about it and he said something like Thursday or something.
No,
So-
3 months. He said 3 months.
Yeah, all right.
no,
We
no.
have to go.
They have to go back and read those 9,000 pages. The
So
judges.
it's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
And when it comes, it's going to come in the form of a judgment, possibly hundreds of pages.
Okay.
But you think it's going to be worth
Yeah.
the wait?
Of course,
Well,
it's
we
going to
wait
be
and
worth
see.
it.
Very impressive, well explained, and thanks for coming.
Thank you, too.
Attorney at law, Bert Samuels, his daughter, much brighter.
Much
So,
smarter, Bianca. Hi, Bianca. Coming up, another event which happened on the 15th. I look at the historic $1.3 trillion budget tabled for 24-25. We're back with that after this.